Good afternoon. Thank you for joining us today. Carousel Technology would like to welcome you to our ServiceNow Federal Tech Talk, from ITSM to GenAI, fueling federal innovation with ServiceNow low-code. Joining us today with ServiceNow, we have Mark Maurice, Senior Advisory Solution Consultant, Joe Kim, Senior Solution Sales Executive, and Steve Lai, Federal Enterprise Architect. Before we get started, I would like to quickly go over a few housekeeping items. Please note that all lines have been muted to reduce any kind of background noise during the presentation. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, please feel free to use the Q&A feature on the bottom of your screen, and we will do our best to answer by the end of the presentation or follow up with you offline following the webinar. This webinar is being recorded and a copy will be emailed to you. Just to tell you a little bit about Caresoft, we are a trusted government IT solutions provider supporting public sector organizations across federal, state, and local government agencies, including education and healthcare markets. At this time, I'd like to hand the floor over to our speakers. Mark, the floor is all yours.
Good afternoon, everyone. Mark Maurice here, and welcome to this webinar. Low code from ITSM to GenAI on the ServiceNow platform. So to get started, we're going to start with our introductions, and then we're going to go into the foundation and investments of low code of application development on the ServiceNow platform. And we'll go into the details of our GenAI strategy and how it's going to boost our platform's users' productivity. All right. So my name is Mark Maurice. I'm a senior advisory solution consultant on the creator workflow team, supporting all our federal customers. And I'm joined today by Joe, and I'm joined also by Steve Lee.
Hi, Steve Lee, a ServiceNow Federal Platform Architect.
Thank you, guys. And so before we get started, we're going to talk about innovations, and innovations often, happen, have some plans to be delivered. So I just want to mention with this safe harbor notice that we're going to make forward-looking statements. And so as usual, plans may change. So before you make any decisions with ServiceNow, reach out to your team and reach out to us. We'll be more than happy to answer any question we have about the roadmap, but make sure that you don't make any decisions based on what we show today. All right. So just to get started and to reframe the discussion a little bit, I think it's important to understand, we work on a day-to-day basis with a lot of federal customers, and many of them have been very successful on the ITSM platform, but they think that, many of them can only think that, ServiceNow does only ITSM, but ServiceNow platform was actually built by Fred Luddy, our founder here, with a vision to allow anyone to build any kind of a meaningful workflow applications. So the foundation is in the product to allow anyone to build applications fast. And so as we started to build on that vision, we added more and more tools as we go and invested on those tools, from the guided app creator that allowed very easily to create an application, with mobile studio and templates to get started very fast on building mobile applications on the platform, and more components and integration tools directly on the ServiceNow platform. So Joe?
Yeah, so sorry about that. So as I was saying, since 2015, the State Department has implemented hundreds of mission-critical custom apps using App Engine to meet the ongoing and evolving needs of State Department employees. These apps include the department-wide My Services and My Data custom service portals. And these apps provide access to hundreds of different State Department enterprise service requests, like the example shown here on the slide. The State Department has started to and continues to build on ServiceNow App Engine because of the ease of building workflows and approval logic, the faster speed of development, our governance capabilities to help them track app portfolio usage, as well as having a portal framework to deliver new services, and a mobile application for a better user experience. So as ServiceNow has grown, we continue to build, acquire, and integrate technology, all with the same purpose: to automate work better, faster, and smarter. We've expanded the development studio to App Engine Studio to allow more people with all different skill sets to build on the platform. And soon after, we introduced App Engine Management Center for app and user governance, which is a big differentiator for low-code platforms.
And so, as you can see from all those investments already, what we have in mind with the platform is to allow anyone to build applications on the platform, but also making sure that as you go and step to all the stages of building an application to the platform, you have governance every step of the way. So from the intake, well, we provide an intake form to make sure that the right application is being built, that there is no sprawl in the agency. And then as you go and build, that you have the tools to be able to validate the correctness of that application, and that the right integrations are secure, and that you have the proper access control to make sure that the data is as private as you need to be. And then as you go and you have all the tools to make sure that you can oversee the overall deployments and management of those applications. And some applications you may not need, so you have the tool to understand the usage of those applications. Do you need to continue maintaining those applications, or do you need to retire them? And so those tools have allowed us, by their simplicity and power, to host many, many workshops. And we are here today in the ServiceNow office with hosting another 2-day workshop with many federal agencies, where people get a hands-on experience with the tool. They're able to ideate on not only existing solutions, but also think about all the different ideas that they have and implement their own application on the ServiceNow platform. So I want to extend an invitation to everyone here on the webinar today to reach out to us, register for the next webinar, which is on December 13, and come experience the power of the platform. And one of those customers that came to one of the workshops is the chaplain services. And Joe's going to talk a little bit about this amazing story.
Yep, that's correct, Mark. Yeah, keep in mind, chaplains are not technical by nature. Their principal purpose is to promote the spiritual and personal well-being of service members. The ServiceNow Creative Workflows team helped the chaplain staff with planning, designing, and quickly building a mobile-friendly app to help chaplains and sailors manage their spiritual journey. This is an excellent example of how anyone, even non-technical folks, can build on the platform. Even mission-critical apps using a drag and drop, dev development tools, and governance features.
Yeah, and I think that, Joe, you mentioned also about that story that people in the chaplain services don't have a technical background.
Yeah, absolutely. But, to that point, Mark, through the workshop, they were able to quickly realize how much easier it is to build custom apps using App Engine instead of other local platforms. And the workshop really helped them realize ways to ideate, understand how ServiceNow can help solve agency problems. They were able to successfully evaluate an out-of-the-box, flexible, and modern building experience without the need for coding. And the workshop really gave them an opportunity to execute on their low-code strategy and citizen development framework. None of this would have been possible without attending that workshop. And the app's outcome is actually helping promote better ways to support a positive emotional and spiritual work environment so that our service members can continue to serve and protect our nation. So we really encourage everyone on the line here today to reach out to us about how we can organize a workshop to help benefit your agency's low-code strategy. This can be at your office or even one of the ServiceNow locations.
Yeah, and this is really amazing what happens when you put people together in the same room and we go into whiteboards and we talk about different ideas about how we can improve this process, and what are the pain points really that people are experiencing in those processes. Right? It's so much more efficient than looking at, I'm sure that everybody on the line here loves dealing with requests for proposals and requirements and so on. But if you put people in the same room, things get done much faster. So I again encourage everyone to learn about this and come to a workshop. So this is all the innovation that we have built so far and that we are building. But, right now, we've also invested a lot into the next generation. And the next generation, and like everybody probably has heard, right? You've used ChatGPT, you've used generative AI to generate some type of content. We've been looking for years about how we could apply this to accelerate the application development cycle. And Gartner says that by 2025, 80% of app developments will use some kind of GenAI code generation. And that's just one piece of the puzzle. You're going to see that, Gartner is looking at just the code generation part, but you're going to see here, I'm going to turn it over to Steve who's going to talk about ServiceNow's AI strategy and all the capabilities that we've been working on and that we're going to introduce. All right, Steve, to you.
Thank you. Thanks, Mark. So this is a perfect slide. Okay. So, and that's the key part, right? ServiceNow, right, has seen the whole AI market and environment progress over time. We saw GenAI coming a number of years ago. So 6 years ago, we made an intentional commitment, right, to innovation and to strategically either acquire or build top AI talent. And you can see here, based on this timeline, we spent a significant amount of capital, right, and internal resources building what you're about to see, which is our GenAI capabilities, and added on top of that our already existing wide portfolio of AI capabilities. So we've really invested our time and made sure that we're here and we're on the forefront of this GenAI technology. Next one. So at ServiceNow, our main strategy, right? And again, ServiceNow is not new to it, and we are in a great position. And our main three strategies here, area of focus, is service personalization, right? Knowledge synthesis, and content generation, right? Service personalization, be able to go to a service portal and interact using natural language and ask questions and get a personalized response, because our AI knows the user, what they're entitled to, what they have access to. And then knowledge synthesis, right? Being able to recognize there's a knowledge gap, right, within your organization, and be able to use our combination of machine learning, AI search to generate knowledge articles and fill that gap. And then content generation. And that's what you typically see out in the market with that ChatGPT-like experience, right? Being able to summarize content from a record or from knowledge articles for catalog requests. So that's the main. And then here's the poll question we're going to send out to everybody. So if everyone take a look at, so currently it looks like everyone is, majority of the people are, we have no plans, we're just considering Gen AI at this time. And you know, to be honest, as I've been speaking with a number of different customers within the federal marketplace, that's the exact same thing they're looking. They're kind of falling into the same category where they're hearing a lot of news and talk about Gen AI. So, they're looking at it as a opportunity to get ready for what's coming up down the pipe. So they're doing a lot of their research now. So, it's glad to see that still holds true here within this particular webinar.
Yeah, it's pretty exciting to see also, 40% of people plan to incorporate Gen AI in the upcoming year. So we'll be ready for you guys. So close the poll. On to the next slide.
All right. So our three main areas of focus, how are we going to achieve that, right? And this is how we're going to achieve. ServiceNow generative AI strategy is centered around providing broad and secure large learning models. And as some of you know, or if you don't know, behind that ChatGPT is what we call a large language model, right? Which is learning and taking in your response and providing a result back. So ServiceNow, we're actually going to provide two capabilities: the ability to use a generative AI controller to integrate with the general purpose large learning models out there. Large language models already out there. You might have heard of some, which is that Open API or the Azure Open API. But we also will be building different spokes, integrations with other partners that have LLMs, which are Google Cloud. And then we have what ServiceNow are calling domain-specific LLMs, and we're naming them specifically Now LLMs, right? And those domain LLMs are going to be specifically trained on our industry and customer data, right? So that way it generates the most relevant and accurate answers based on the ServiceNow's capabilities. So, in kind of going over this, customers have two options. If they're building bespoke application or custom applications, they can use our generative AI controller to do the integration with a third-party vendor LLM, such as Azure OpenAI, and all of our out-of-box generative AI capabilities will be relying and working and using our Now LLMs. Any questions there? Nope. So And I will stress with the slide, again, the safe harbor slide. So this, as of now, because again, generative AI space is moving so fast, a notational architecture of how it would look for our federal customers. As you know, you can see across the top there, right? Customers within our GCC, NSC data centers, we are going to replicate our now LLMs, right? Which is what our domain specific LLMs are, into that secure regulated data center, right? At the high level, you can see here, if you use any of our out of the box now assist skills, as we're calling our Gen AI capabilities, now assist skills, it will actually send the request to our now LLMs within that same data center. And then if, for example, a transaction gets too high or we're having too many requests come in, we do have, or we plan on having, a cloud burst capabilities. And that is, again, will be hosted in the secure data center. It actually will be using Azure's secure government data centers. ServiceNow will still own and control that now LLM. It's just hosted in a Azure data center. Any of the conversational Gen AI capabilities that customer wants to use out of the box will be using our OEM LLM. And that is essentially a copy, right, of Azure's OpenAI ChatGPT model, just the model itself, not the data, just the model. We will be using our own data to actually train that model for conversations. And then you can see here on the left in the red, right, if customers choose to use our controller to integrate with third-party ones, they have the same capabilities. And right now, as it stands, we do have a controlled go-to-market for self-hosted customers. But again, they have to purchase their own hardware, specific hardware, and host those large learning models, large language models in their own infrastructure. And again, just to reiterate, all this is notational. It's subject to change. All right. So this is, like I said, the Gen AI environment is moving fast. New capabilities are coming out, right, and new deploy. And this is an example here how we are developing Gen AI capabilities across the platform and across each of the workflows, right? And you can see here, in this first release we just did with Vancouver, right, we have, for example, case summarization, and that goes toward that whole content generation. And that same case or incident summarization works across all workflows. And then specifically, if we just focus on the creative workflows, which is a key part of this workshop today, right? Text to code, being able to help developers generate code using best practices, using the same code that our LLM was trained on, using our actual developers, internal product teams, the development, the code that they write, we used it to train our LLMs. Any questions? So let's talk about like content generation here, right? And that's kind of one of the things we talk about. And that's what you most likely see out when people use that ChatGPT like user experience. So we have that here on our same portal where you use natural language to ask a question. It uses our combination of our AI search to go out and look for the most relevant material within your instance, and then send that information to our now LLM, which then generates a response. And you can see here from the screenshot, that top section where it's powered by Now Assist, that's the response from our now LLM, right? And the key portion here where it's going to help a lot is when you do general search, you have a lot of knowledge articles, you have a lot of catalog, you have to waste clicks going into trust to find what you need. The summarization is going to be the key changer and reducing that click time and getting the right information to you at the right time. So the case summarization, and this is going to be a big part of our agent to agent collaboration, or even agent to end user customer reduction. For me, right, I recently had a user experience where I was dealing with a internet service provider where I was chatting with the virtual agent, and then that workflow ended up transferring to a live agent. The live agent said, "Hey, I need a couple minutes to review this case, so that way we can proceed and I can help you." Well, with our case summarization, and a big part of it is when that actual transfer is going to happen, we will generate a summary of that whole conversation, right, as well as the information within that case, and present it to that agent. So that way they don't have to burn that time saying, hey, give me a chance to review this before we go. It will be at the fingertips for them. They will have that summarization, and the same likewise for agent to agent transfer. When you're transferring to another agent, they don't have to spend time sifting through the case, through different tabs, through different fields just to see what you did, right? They will have that summarization right there for them.
Yeah, this can save so much time for users on the platform.
Yep. And the conversational. So this is the key part. That same analysis search will be available within the actual virtual agent. The other big thing that is coming to that virtual agent is the ability for that quick turnaround when you do a quick search and it recommends a catalog item, for example. Typically what now customers have to do is click on that catalog item that's recommended by the virtual agent. It reroutes them, takes them to the actual catalog item itself. With the new GenAI features, utilizing our natural language structures, right? That virtual agent will be able to ask you the questions that are related to that actual catalog item. So that way you don't have to be rerouted and go to that catalog to fill it yourself. That virtual agent will automatically ask you in natural conversation, hey, provide me your name. Okay, what group are you in? All that information will be prompted to you, and it will become a natural conversation with the virtual agent just to complete that actual catalog item. So you heard me talk about earlier, the generative AI controller, right? And this is going to be key for using and our creator capabilities, right? Being able to build custom applications using the controller to generate or build custom virtual agent topics, or even integrate our actual existing or generative AI capabilities into the actual applications. And again, using integrations to Azure, OpenAI, or Google, they will be able to bring those same Gen AI capabilities to your custom applications.
So thank you, Steve. So we talk a lot about some of the capabilities that are coming across the platform. So what I want to go into a little bit more is how the capabilities that are going to make creators even more productive with GenAI. And what we do is that we look at the different personas, because when we talk about creators, right, there are so many people that interact on building innovations in the platform. You may have developers, administrators, someone that may be more specialized into maybe a process analyst, or someone that's more specialized into building integrations for other and the platform to consume. So if we look at this developer, right, with GenAI, there are some studies that say that you can actually reduce app development time by 50% or more, right? And so we look at other use cases for an admin, how we can help them manage the deployments and the governance of applications. Also looking at, from a process analyst or integrations, how we can drive and help them the build and the definition of those processes. So that's all we're going to go into. So this is right now, current, as of Vancouver release, we have now available inside your Vancouver release flow recommendation. And we just used that into our workshop today in the ServiceNow office, where as you'll go and building a flow, the flow is aware of what you're trying to build, is aware of how other flows of similar natures have been built, and is recommending for you the next best action to use in your workflow, right? So it's learning and it's helping you as you go. And text to code, right? So there are some areas in your application where, let's say most of it is going to be no code, very easy to configure, but there might be some areas where you need to write a couple of scripts. And we know that, you need to have a certain knowledge today to be able to write those scripts. But with GenAI, you can quickly write a comment describing what you want the GenAI to write for you, and hit enter, and it will generate the script to be able for, like here, to query into in order than 2 years, right? So there's no need to spend a lot of time on the documentation or learning more about coding, here it's write the scripts for you. It gives you a jump start. Right? It's always a good idea to make your prompt for GenAI more very specific and understand that it's a jump start for your script. It might not be the end result, but it's going to increase your productivity tenfold. Right? And text to process, it's actually released today on November 16, where I'll be able to describe what my process is about. Let's say it could be a financial disclosure process. It could be, a security access control request. It could be anything that you may think about, and it's going to generate inside the ServiceNow workflow environment all the different stages and steps and activities that need to take place or that are usually performed inside this workflow. Like here, we prompted the text to process about an application about fraud transaction risk evaluation, and it built all the steps. So I would encourage everyone to look into your Vancouver and reach out to your account team and talk about how you can turn this on into your instance. So we talk about flow recommendation, text to code, customization, and text to process. I'd love for everybody here to give us a little bit of what features in generative AI you're looking forward to using. And you can use any number of them. Usually the more the better. But I would love to get your input. So those are available in Vancouver as we talk. We just built a workflow with the attendees of our workshop, and the recommendations were popping, and we started talking about it. That started to spin off some very interesting discussion. Right? Even if you don't have a plan for using GenAI in the very next future, this is a very interesting discussion to have about where it could be applied in your agency. We talked about right now those 4 key features of GenAI available in Vancouver, and we're continuing to innovate on the platform. We saw some of that was already released in September for Utah patch 2 and store 2, and then we adding additional capabilities from accelerating the application development to augmenting the user experience. What can we do? Some of the features that Steve talked about, how we can provide a better user interaction with the platform for the end user, and also how can we accelerate automation? So we're talking about automation assist with the flow, but how can we make this even better? And expanding the integrations in GenAI with allowing you to extract more data from any kind of documents that you want to process. Because we know that in federal, we have a lot of documents that we still need to store to some extent, but there are ways that we can help with the ServiceNow platform to extract a vast amount of data and accelerate any kind of manual process that is required today to process those documents. All right. So in the future, and this is what we're working on today. So what you see are descriptions, mockup. Some are way more advanced than here, but this is in the future. So don't make any purchasing decision about this feature yet. But this is where the platform is going. It's going to help you bring more guidance into the tool. What's amazing is that we started testing some of those features. For example, when I'm building an integration, the integration script here is aware of what integration I'm working with. So if I'm working with a Microsoft Teams integration, it knows the variables that I need to use. So I don't need to wander inside my integration or go to the documentation about that Teams Spoke integration, for example. Directly from there, the GenAI is aware of what ServiceNow has built and is going to make it easier for every creator in the platform to build much faster directly inside their integration. So next, another type of user in the platform. Someone that may just need a dashboard and just need a quick way to add a new data visualization, right? So we already augmented today with the Workspace Builder in App Engine Studio, the ability for people to build their own dashboard very quickly. But if you need something even faster is how can we bring this to the next level? is adding a dashboard, talking to a GenAI agent and having them understand what we want to build and having them to help us build this directly in a dev environment. Right? And again, we have built-in governance all the way from managing the build of the application to managing the deployment of this app. So when we do this kind of automated build, this is within the context of the government that is put in place. So if I'm asking someone to build something for me, this is my dev instance, and the App Engine Management Center is going to help me make sure that this app is built properly, because you never know why the GenAI is an amazing tool to help you get a jump start in your development and build faster. But you want to double check everything that's being built on your behalf, right? So again, we help people build faster with built-in governance that we have today with App Engine Management Center. We're bringing more governance to automate the work of admins, how they can be more aware of what's being built, or how can we make their work faster to manage the deployments or requests from users about the application that need to be deployed from dev, staging, and production. And so what we're bringing next is really the next level of innovation, is all the tools from App Engine Studio to App Engine Management Center, is how we can bring building an apps to the future with Now Assist for everyone, where with just a question or a description of the problem, we can have people like here describing how they want to make a form, and having the Now Assist tool that is going to bring them into App Engine Studio, is going to prompt them for the data that they need, what type of information or picture, and recommend that most of the time when such application is requested, there is a need for a headshot. And the AI is understanding the request, but not just doing what the user is asking, is also providing guidance into all the past applications that were built, very similar, and is helping build the UI of this application. It's helping build the data model so that everyone directly on the ServiceNow platform with Creator Workflow has the ability to build the first application in minutes. All right, so we are bringing this in the next future for you to be able to build this application very quickly. So last polling question, we had poll questions with fixed questions. I'd love to hear from you. You've heard about generative AI, even if you don't have a plan to use it in the very next future, but are there any other use cases you're thinking about in your agency that you might be wondering if ServiceNow can help you with, right? And so we would like to have your feedback so we can get back to you and give you what you need to continue innovating on the ServiceNow platform. Before we move into the Q&A, I have those QA codes here that allow you to very quickly go to the sites for registering for an innovation workshop, get a personal developer instance. A personal developer instance is something that ServiceNow does that it's very unique. Not a lot of vendors do that. It allows you to get your own personal ServiceNow instance just for you to be able to learn, to be able to try things on your own and learn more as you go. And those instances don't expire if you keep using them. And then get certified as a ServiceNow developer, go onto our Now Learning website and start learning. Many of those trainings are free. Steve, you had something to say?
Yeah, I just want to note the personal developer instances, the GenAI capabilities will not work with those. So if that's what you're, then contact Mark or the account team directly if they're interested in seeing and having a test run of the GenAI capabilities.
Yeah, it's a great point, because there was a lot of investments that are behind GenAI. There was a lot of resources that are needed, so we can't really make that happen on the PDI for 1,000 and 1,000 of instances. But if you reach out to us, we can make this happen for you. Great. So now we can take any question. Are there any question? I can see there are Zoom questions.
So at this time, we'd like to open the floor up for questions. Please use the Q&A pod on the bottom of your screen to ask any questions that you might have. It looks like there's a question mark. How are weights leveraged in the model? Does an agency or customer have the ability to apply their own values against the model from their internal SMEs?
So
Steve, you want to take that one?
Yeah, so the key thing here is with the federal customers and being in a regulated market, their data will not be used to train any of our models at all. They'll be by default opted out of sending data to our models for training. Does that answer your question, hopefully?
Yes, I mean, the question was, can that data be used? So, we might need to do a follow-up if people want to use their own data with ServiceNow large language models. We can insert in more details. Another question?
For example, how can I ensure that a user who does not have access to a piece of information cannot use GenAI to go around their access limitations and get the piece of information?
That's a great question. I think, Steve, it's built in the architecture, right?
Yeah, so the GenAI will comply with the existing ACLs and the security on a platform. So if they don't have access to that particular record or knowledge article, GenAI will not summarize it.
Yeah, it's a great point because, when he talks about the power of the ServiceNow platform, everything is on one architecture. If you set up access control parameters in your instance, everything in the platform is going to respect those. If you define data anonymization rules in your platform, everything in your platform is going to respect those parameters. Another question?
He asked, where is that written down?
Are you asking if there is a official document about our GenAI use of customers' data, or how the security parameters in ServiceNow prevent people using GenAI to circumvent that?
The latter.
Yeah, I don't think we have an official document, but it's just built inside the ServiceNow platform. Feel free to reach out to us. We can give you additional details.
Yeah, I'll look into it and check to make sure, because all the information should be published on our docs now in terms of how it's built.
Yeah, and we have also a GenAI page on ServiceNow.com. There's an official FAQ that we can share later on with the audience. Next question.
We have another question. Everything demonstrated today is available in the Vancouver release.
So everything that was marked Vancouver is available in Vancouver. There were a couple of things that were marked as future that ServiceNow is working on.
And just because it's Vancouver patch 2.
Someone asked, is the release with generative AI available on the federal cloud yet?
Currently, not right now. We are still waiting for the hardware to be received before we can actually implement that.
Any more questions on the line?
I need to specifically see the official vendor documentation that confirms that the ACLs and other security restrictions are applied in Vancouver and beyond.
Yeah, we can get that to you. So we'll follow up. Yeah, security is paramount on the ServiceNow platform. So if we don't have the documents already, we'll have it. Next question.
Looks like we have another question. Will ServiceNow support other large language models besides OpenAI and Azure?
Yeah, that was in the architecture slide that Steve presented. We are working with Google Cloud model, and also the way that the integration to those models are built. ServiceNow is open in a way that we provide those integrations out of the box. But if you have your own, let's say, large language model, or if there is a partner that ServiceNow is not connecting today with, then you can build your own integration as well.
Someone asked, can we post this recording internally?
I think that recording is going to be available publicly, so you can always redirect people to this recording.
Another question, do we have to use the GenAI controller to use GenAI in ServiceNow?
So like everything in ServiceNow, you don't necessarily have to use it. You can always make your own. ServiceNow is a great platform to create your own integrations, your own components. And it's built for that, to allow you to bring your own ideas to the platform. But there was always a decision that you need to make at some point where there's going to be a cost associated to creating your own versus the cost of using ServiceNow's own already made, pre-built integration with those models, right? Those integrations are done through the generative AI model, and it gives you flexibility where if you want to change from one large language model to another, you don't have to change your code. You just need to change a parameter inside the ServiceNow GenAI controller. So there was going to be a lot of pros and cons for you to evaluate before making a decision. But short answer, you can always build your own inside ServiceNow. The answer is that sometimes it's not because you can that you should. So talk to us and we can help you make those decisions.
We have a question. Is there a timeline as to when the GenAI will be available in GCC? I just heard there's hardware that still needs to be received and installed.
Correct. At this time, we can't communicate any fixed timeline. But we're trying to do that as soon as possible. We know this is important for at least, I think the number was 40-50% of the people here on that phone. So we know it's important. We're working hard on it.
We have another question. How does the recent OMB memo and developing policies impact the product roadmap?
I mean,
Are you
go ahead,
referring
Steve.
to the executive order, or just is there a specific one from OMB?
Executive order.
Yeah.
Gotcha. So the key part of the executive order, right, is that there's multiple parts that we're working on, but the main part of kind of the OpenAI being transparent and available for kind of public review. ServiceNow has already gone down that path, right? Within our docs environment, right? We do post what we call model cards, and those model cards will give you a breakdown of how our models work, the benefits, the data, how it's used, the risks, the limitations. All the information will be posted based on our models. And if you go to our doc site and look up our analysis model cards, you'll see the links to those publicly published model cards. So that's just the one key aspect I know that we're working with to get that done as part of that executive order.
Yeah, we can send the link also afterwards to the audience. Any more questions? I love them. Please have them coming up. No more questions on the line?
I'm not seeing any more questions.
Okay. Thank you very much. Do you want to close the call?
Yes, thank you, team. I'd like to thank all of our participants as well and our speakers for being with us today. We hope the information that you received during this webinar has been helpful to you. If you have any further questions or would like to request more information, please feel free to reach out. And thank you again and have a great day.
Thank you, everyone.